The knock on room 1703 was supposed to be routine. Just another delivery, another signature, another quick, thank you, before Daniel rushed off to his next job. But when the door opened, his entire life changed. Standing there was a woman who looked like she belonged on magazine covers and corporate boardrooms at the same time. Elegant black dress, sharp eyes, a quiet sadness hidden behind a calm expression. Daniel froze. I'm sorry, he stammered, holding out the bouquet. Flower delivery for Mr. Carter. The woman glanced at the flowers, then at Daniel's worn jacket, his tired eyes, and the small crayon drawing sticking out of his pocket. You have the wrong room, she said softly. Daniel's face turned red. I'm really sorry. I must have read the number wrong. He started to turn away quickly, embarrassed. Delivering flowers was just one of the 3 jobs he worked to raise his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Mistakes meant complaints. Complaints meant losing tips. But the woman stopped him. Wait. Daniel turned. She looked at the flowers again, white lilies and soft pink roses. Who are they for? She asked. Some anniversary, I think, Daniel said awkwardly. Room 1708. There was a brief silence. Then she said something unexpected. Would you mind leaving them here? Daniel blinked in confusion. But, they're not yours. I know. She reached into her purse and handed him several crisp bills. Consider it a purchase. Daniel hesitated, uncomfortable. Ma'am, I can't charge you for something already paid. It's fine, she interrupted gently. I just don't want them to go to waste. Her voice carried a loneliness Daniel recognized instantly. The same kind he felt every night after putting Lily to bed. Slowly, he handed her the bouquet. Thank you, she said quietly. As Daniel walked away down the hallway, he felt something strange, like the brief moment meant more than just a wrong delivery. What he didn't know was that the woman holding the flowers was Eleanor Hayes, one of the richest billionaires in the city. And she hadn't smiled like that in years. That night, Eleanor placed the bouquet on the large dining table in her penthouse suite. The room was massive, elegant, and completely silent. She stared at the flowers. For years, people had given her gifts, expensive ones. Diamonds, cars, art, but those were business gestures. This was different, because the man who delivered them had looked at her not with greed, but with kindness. And exhaustion. She couldn't stop thinking about the crayon drawing sticking out of his pocket. The next morning, Eleanor did something she had never done before. She called the flower company. I'd like to know the name of the delivery driver who worked the Grand Meridian Hotel yesterday. 2 days later, Daniel was delivering flowers again when his manager rushed toward him. Daniel, someone's asking for you. Daniel frowned. For me. Standing near the shop counter was Eleanor. She looked just as elegant as before, but today she wore a simple cream coat and a softer expression. Daniel nearly dropped the bouquet in his hands. You're the woman from the hotel. She smiled faintly. And you're the man who brought me flowers meant for someone else. Daniel scratched the back of his neck nervously. I hope I'm not in trouble. Not at all. She paused before asking something unexpected. Would you like to have coffee with me? Daniel blinked. Coffee? Yes. He glanced at the delivery truck outside. I have a shift. I'll wait. And somehow, she meant it. Coffee turned into conversation. Conversation turned into laughter. For the first time in years, Eleanor spoke to someone who didn't know her wealth, her influence, or her name. To Daniel, she was just Ellie. And Daniel told her about Lily. He told her about losing his wife to illness 3 years earlier. About working multiple jobs. About bedtime stories and school lunches and the fear of not being enough. Eleanor listened quietly. Her life had been the opposite. Power, wealth, control, but no family, no laughter, no one waiting for her at home. When Daniel showed her a picture of Lily on his phone, a bright-eyed little girl with messy hair and a huge smile, Eleanor felt something warm in her chest she hadn't felt in decades. Hope. Weeks passed. They kept meeting. Simple walks, coffee, late-night talks about life. Daniel still didn't know Ellie was a billionaire. And Eleanor didn't want him to. Because for the first time, someone liked her for who she truly was. Not her money, not her power, just her. But secrets never stay hidden forever. One afternoon, Daniel arrived at the cafe earlier than usual. While waiting, he glanced at a business magazine lying on the table. The cover made his heart stop. Eleanor Hayes, the billionaire who built an empire. The photo was unmistakable. Ellie. Daniel felt the air leave his lungs. When Eleanor arrived minutes later, she immediately saw the magazine in his hands. Silence filled the space between them. You're a billionaire, Daniel said slowly. Eleanor nodded. I was afraid this moment would come. Daniel looked down. All this time, you didn't tell me. I didn't want things to change, she whispered. Daniel rubbed his forehead, overwhelmed. Ellie, my life is small. I deliver flowers. I'm just trying to raise my daughter. She reached across the table. And that's exactly why I care about you. He looked up. Her eyes were shining. You're real, Daniel. Everyone else in my world sees numbers and power. You see people. Daniel's voice softened. You could have anyone. She smiled sadly. But I only want the man who accidentally delivered flowers to the wrong door. Months later, Eleanor visited Daniel's modest apartment for the first time. Lily answered the door. You must be Ellie, the little girl said excitedly. Daniel froze. Lily. But Eleanor knelt down and laughed. You've heard about me. Lily nodded proudly. Daddy says you're very nice. The apartment was small, the furniture old, but the laughter inside those walls felt richer than any mansion. That night, Eleanor realized something important. She didn't want a palace. She wanted a family. 6 months later, Daniel stood nervously in a quiet garden. Eleanor stood beside him in a simple white dress. No reporters. No luxury spectacle. Just a few close friends, and Lily holding a basket of flower petals. Daniel looked at Eleanor with disbelief. Are you sure about this? She smiled warmly. You delivered flowers to the wrong room. She gently held his hand. And somehow, you delivered yourself to the right person. The officiant began the ceremony as Lily scattered petals with excitement. And for the first time in years, Eleanor Hayes, the lonely billionaire who had everything except love, finally felt truly rich. Sometimes life doesn't change because of perfect plans. Sometimes it changes because of mistakes. A wrong address. A simple bouquet. A knock on the wrong door. And in Daniel's case, that mistake gave his daughter a brighter future, gave a lonely woman a family, and proved that the greatest fortune in the world isn't money. It's love.